guys, week 6 we kick things back with the heavyweights, but in this particular video for this week, what I'm also going to be covering will be my warm-ups before my session. So you've seen my accessories, you've seen how I perform my working sets, but now this time around I'm going to be giving you guys a bit more of an insight to what I do prior to my compound lifts. Now you're going to have to forgive me for this particular video as I'm a little bit under the weather, but I'm a power through to get this out to you guys, because I think this will definitely give you just a bit more of an insight to how you can warm up before you do your heavy lifting, but also like what's actually important in a warm-up. So as you can see here, all I'm doing is pretty much just glute. I don't even want to say activation work, but I'm working in and around my glutes. This is a separate program that I follow that is provided by my physio. So the things that he gives me are things that are going to help me with any previous injuries that I've had or sustained when I was working with him, but also just in general things that I wanted to work on to move forward and just be a healthier human being. So you see here my partner, she's now talking to me and exercising her women privilege, because if that was me, I may not be able to finish this video. But with that being said, as you can see, I'm literally just working through my hips, just trying to get my glutes warmer and also stronger. So a lot of the movements that you see me do here, or rather, let me say it this way, the movements that I'm doing here, I am doing 75 reps per movement. To which sometimes, depending on what my physio gives me, it can get quite tedious, but the payoff is huge. And in this particular session where I was working lower body, it just helped me a lot. Prior to my deload, things were getting heavy and I was definitely getting tired. So after deload week, I definitely felt a lot more refreshed, but I was also just feeling a little bit more stiffer just in general. So sometimes doing things like this can just really help me loosen up, but also just prepare me for the work that's about to come. And that's something that I feel like a warm-up should be about, is about preparing yourself for what you're going to do, as opposed to thinking that it's just about raising the heart rate. Of course, it's all well and good that you're warm, but if you're doing bench press and you're not actually working through the muscles that you're going to be utilizing, spending 20 minutes on the treadmill isn't going to necessarily be as optimal as you think it is. And even with things like this, and a lot of times when people think about the body, they think just in very simple planes of movement. Like you think the knee flexes and extends, same with the hips, same with the elbows. But one other component that these muscles do, especially your ball and socket joint does, is it rotates, it twists. So sometimes when I work with someone or someone comes to me and they talk about injuries, I sometimes also like to assess their ability to rotate a particular joint, especially for the most part where a lot of people have like elbow issues or shoulder issues, or even sometimes in the glutes. I'm just like, okay, like how well can you rotate your leg? And you'll find that they actually don't have as much internal or external rotation to begin with. So a lot of times their body's having to compromise elsewhere in order to obviously facilitate that movement. And now in this case, what you see me doing is pretty much just sitting down and working through that. And I can tell you right now, like, again, 75 repetitions, man, it was kind of like, I wouldn't even say my glutes, it was like deep in my femur. It was just literally burning. And it's such a simple drill. It also looks a bit ridiculous, but sometimes these things are the ones that end up being the more useful drills to then help you progress further. So again, my warm-up is essentially just getting me ready to do the lifts that I'm going to do, and again, make me move a lot better. Now we move on to spine. So with this movement, again, generally when you think about spine, you're just thinking about bending the spine, extending the spine, or in better terms, when you do the camel, you're talking about curving the spine into flexion, and then you're also talking about curving in the opposite direction, which is extension. Whereas we don't think sideways, we don't think to flex the spine left and right, we always just think back and forth. So again, another component that I like to do in this, another thing that I'm really glad that my physio has added to my toolbox, you can say, is just now being able to move my spine in many different directions more efficiently. And that will carry over so much in terms of actually now creating more stability within my spine or around my spine when I brace and I lift. So we're getting close now to the end of my warm-up, because again, it's quite an extensive long warm-up. And with these particular movements, I only just did the two, and this was for 3 minutes each. So just trying to get as many reps as I can. And now you see me lacing up, getting ready to then do my squats. This was the last few reps of my heaviest set. So we're back to the sets of twos. This week in particular was 12 reps. So this was 132 kilos on the safety squat bar. And then we moved on to the conventional deadlift. So that was my last 2 reps of 12 at 160 kilos. And then we move on to my accessories. Back again, lifting heavy on the deficit Bulgarian split squat, which was just soul draining. Honestly, I just went up 2.5 kilos. And yeah, my body was aching. This was actually the first time in a very, very long time that I was feeling physically sick, and I've trained